Hey there you guys. So in this video today, I'm going to be doing a sort of story time video. I'm just going to be telling you the story of how I met my German husband Ben, and then how I ended up moving to Germany with him. So if you're curious about that, keep watching. And for those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Neva, I'm 25 years old, and I do currently live in Germany with my German husband Ben. So yeah, let's get straight into the story of how we met. So when I was 20 years old, I was sort of at a bad place in my life. I was really unsure of who I was and what I wanted to do with my life. I had already attempted to go to university and then to community college, and just nothing felt right. It didn't feel good for me, and I just didn't feel successful. I didn't have any direction. I think you get the point. I was completely lost. And I basically just decided that I needed to make some big drastic change, and I decided I wanted to travel somewhere. I was still really unsure of what kind of travel I wanted to do, if I wanted to do like, a 2-week program, or if I wanted to go away for a long time. So I started researching a lot about this, and I ended up deciding where I wanted to go was Israel. So the reason I chose Israel is because my mother had actually lived in Israel for almost a decade when she was in her 20s. And that just sort of drew me to Israel a bit. I'm also an American Jew, so I've always felt connected with my Judaism through Israel and all of this kind of stuff, and it just made me want to go there. So I ended up choosing a 5-month program where I would be living in this community living place in Israel. It's called a kibbutz, and basically I would just be living there and working and learning Hebrew and living my life. And when I decided to do this program, I essentially had this feeling inside me like I didn't know when I would be coming back to the States or if I would come back at all. And I really felt that way, and it seemed very dramatic at the time. And I think when I told people this, they were sort of like, oh, yeah, like she'll get tired of traveling and she'll come back in a few months and then go to university or whatever, And I felt really intensely about the fact that that was not going to happen, and I had zero interest really in coming back, and I really just wanted to go on this journey, do this crazy thing with my life, and yeah, so on and so forth. So after the summer went by, I was 20 years old, I ended up hopping on a plane and flying to Israel. And it was really crazy because it was the first time I'd really gone anywhere, really traveling. I'd been to the UK once before for a couple of weeks as a little trip, but I had never traveled in this sort of extreme sense. And especially not by myself. I didn't know anybody there, I wasn't going with anybody, I had absolutely no idea what to expect, but I got on that plane and I went to Israel and I made my way to this community living area, and yeah, that's where the story starts. Now, in the meantime, when I was deciding where I was gonna go and do all of this stuff, my now husband Ben was actually having a sort of similar experience where he was just unsure of who he was and what he was doing, and he wasn't really sure where he wanted to go and all this kind of stuff. And to him, he felt really drawn to traveling and exploring himself and the world around him, very similarly to how I felt. And I find that actually really interesting and really nice. And yeah, so he actually ended up also deciding to go to Israel, but he decided to go there because he's actually half Israeli and half German. So he has family in Israel. But yes, he decided also to go to this community living place, the same one that I decided to go to, and that is in the end how we met. So when I got to Israel, when I got to the place I was going to be living, I felt like a free woman, like a free person, and I just was going around doing my thing, meeting new people, experiencing new stuff, and just having an amazing time. And Ben was doing something very similar and just enjoying his time, but we did not connect for a little while into living in the same, even in the same building. We were living in the same space, but just not connecting. We were each sort of off doing our own things, but in the end, a few weeks into this experience, we ended up sort of coming together. We had friends that we'd made that then were mutual friends, basically, and we ended up meeting this way. When I first met Ben and started to get to know him, it was a really strange experience because my first reaction was not love at first sight. I didn't feel that way, and I'm pretty sure he did not feel that way. I mean, he certainly thought that I was cute, but we weren't seeing each other and being that's the one, It wasn't like that at all. We sort of slowly got to know each other, and over the course of a few weeks, our relationship grew very, very strong. Once we hit a point where we were just being like very honest and very real with each other, that's when our relationship really took like a strong turn. And it's actually really nice because I remember in this place we were living, there was this sort of makeshift tree house, and it had been clearly like not taken care of, and it was really dirty and like not super nice. And we decided together to make a project of creating this really nice tree house where we could then hang out. And that's sort of how we got to know each other, was by building this tree house together and then just sort of laying around in it, hanging out and enjoying each other's company. And it's just like this really beautiful memory I have, being in this treehouse surrounded by just like fields of grass and stuff, and just getting to know him and really falling in love with him in this treehouse. And I just love this memory because it's just so warming to my heart. So once we really started to fall in love and have a real relationship, things definitely escalated very quickly. We were living in the same building, you know, surrounded by the same people and around each other a lot of the time, which always like progresses things like much quicker than if you have to call somebody up to go on a date or something. That didn't happen for us because we were living right next to each other and around each other all the time. I had actually told Ben in the beginning of our relationship that I was not interested in anything serious because I didn't want to do long distance. I knew that there was a possibility that we were going to be going to different countries, and I was not interested in doing long distance. I had done this in the past with my previous relationship, and yeah, I just hated it and I didn't want to do it. I knew I didn't want to, and I was very clear with him about that, which only meant that once I was really falling in love with him and we were really serious about each other, it was clear that we were going to have to find some way where we could stay together. So essentially, we didn't really make any decisions. We kind of were just like, we're just going to find a way where we can be together. And basically what we decided to do was sort of hop from country to country until like one of our visas would run out, essentially. That's sort of what we did. So first we were like in Europe for a little while, we explored Germany together, and then once I couldn't be here any longer, then we went to America and we explored America. We did some really, really cool like camping trips, like taking the car, we threw a mattress in the back and like drove around the coast, and we just had a lot of fun exploring and traveling together. We went to other countries as well, like we went through Israel and hitchhiked our way through the country and had a really amazing time backpacking and exploring a lot of beautiful places together. But eventually we came to the realization that we were not just going to be able to do this sort of makeshift travel experience for the rest of our existence, and in the end we decided that we wanted to find a way where we could both be together in the same place. So we researched a lot into the US and into Germany and just sort of weighed our options and had to decide which country we felt was the best option for us. And in the end, we decided on Germany. I'm not going to get into the reasons why because I kind of feel like it just should be obvious. Like Germany has so many wonderful opportunities for young people and takes care of its people in a way that the US just doesn't do. And also being a foreigner, it's much easier to be a foreigner in Germany than it is to be a foreigner in the States, and so on and so forth. So we had already spoken a little bit about the fact that we wanted to be married and we really were very serious about each other. And even months into our relationship, we'd already spoken about the fact that we felt like this is the one and this is what we want and we would want to get married. And basically one evening we were sitting in an Italian restaurant, we were eating pizza, and Ben just sort of looks at me and he's like, "So, you want to get married?" And I was like, I mean, yes, but like, what's with the proposal, you know? And anyway, that is exactly how we ended up deciding to get married. After this happened, it was a few months before all the paperwork and everything was dealt with, and essentially we sort of decided we didn't want to have a big wedding. We knew that that was going to be very difficult because our families are just all over the world, and we didn't find a way for us to all be able to come together, and it just didn't feel fair for some people to get to be there and some people not to get to be there. So we decided to just go to the courthouse and get married together and just sign our papers and have it be something really nice and personal just for us, and that is exactly what happened. Once we were married, we just went on with our lives, living in Germany together, and you know, a few years later, here we are, we're still married, we're still living in Germany, we're still happy together, and I definitely don't regret any of the decisions that we made. We definitely knew, just like right in the beginning of our relationship, that this was it for both of us, and we still completely feel that way. So yeah. If you guys have any questions or comments about this, or if you want me to make any videos about our travel experiences or my experience joining this program for Israel, I would happily make some videos about that if you guys are curious. And if you guys thought that this video was nice or good, or if you thought our story was cute, hit that like button. And if you'd like to support me and support the channel, hit that subscribe button. But if you don't want to, I will not hold it against you. All right, you guys, that's it for me in this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye. Ooh. I have clips in my hair, but you can't even see them. It's like my hair like swallows the clips. It's kind of ridiculous. Also, I did eye makeup today. I feel snazzy. Okay, now I'm done checking myself out. Bye.